Hey guys, welcome back to my channel. Today we are going to be doing the nursing Q&A. You guys have asked me so many questions on Instagram, and today we're going to answer a lot of those questions. So without further ado, let's get into it. Side note, this is actually the stethoscope that my parents brought for me my first year when I got accepted into the nursing program in 2014, I want to say. So it's very near and dear to me. Okay, so the first question is, do you experience PTSD after seeing the worst injuries constantly? Honestly, no. I feel like after a while, we see some crazy stuff, but I just get so desensitized to it after a while. Sometimes initially I'd be like, oh my gosh, what is that? And then I'll just be like, I've seen worse. But I think the things that really do get me every time, are pressure ulcers. Pressure ulcers are deep ulcers. Well, they can come in different stages, but the worst stage that I've seen them in is stage 4, and that's when the skin is completely gone. You see sometimes necrotic tissue. You can even see the bone. They're often found in the coccyx area in older generations because they're not moving as much, so they're laying on their backs a lot, especially from nursing home patients. Those injuries are the ones that usually make me, but other ones, not so much. Why didn't they tell us no sleep for the weekend? Honestly, oh my goodness, guys. When I come home from work after my 12 hours, I sleep for about 2 hours, no joke. And then I'll try to take another sleep in the evening, but usually I don't. And then when I go on my break, I take my nap, but it's not until my off day where I really get adequate sleep. And don't ask me how I function, I just do. Any advice to nursing students? Yes, my advice to nursing students: do not use this time foolishly, okay? A lot of times when people hear nursing, they say, you don't have any life with nursing. You sure you want to do that? You do not have a life, okay? Well, you know what? You can have a life, but you have to make sure that you're balancing everything correctly. When I was in college studying nursing, I couldn't go to all the events on campus. I couldn't always go out with my friends on Saturday nights. There were some nights where I had to stay in and study for upcoming tests that we had. It just is what it is. And honestly, some of the material was just really hard for me to understand sometimes. So my advice to you would make sure you have a study group of friends that you know that you can adequately gain information from and that can help teach you different things that you may be struggling in. I had a friend group of 2 people, Monique and Jamie, and they really helped me when I was struggling. We used to stay up all night studying for our tests. We would text each other if we had questions on something. I had a good, strong group that really helped me through nursing school. And also, there's always going to the professor after class if you need help, but sometimes the professor wasn't always free. So having that steady group of friends really helped me understand when I was lost in certain things. Also, try to always be one step ahead of the professor. So if you know you're going to be going over pharmacology medications the next day, right? Try to go over that chapter the day before, the night before. Review it so that when the teacher is actually teaching the lesson, you have a general understanding of what's being taught and you can ask questions that you might not have understood when you were reading. Do you think the graveyard shift is better than the day shift? Yes. I do. Personally, I do. I love the graveyard shift, and I love it because for me personally, it's a lot more relaxed. Of course, you still have crazy things going on. You still have rapid responses. You still have codes. All that's going to happen regardless. But it's much more relaxed in the sense that there's not as many staff members. There's not as much management. There's not a lot of people walking around, family members walking around complaining. It's just a lot more chill and a relaxed setting at night. And honestly, sometimes when we do get those patients who like to go off the wire, we know at some point they're gonna go to sleep for a couple hours. So we know we can endure the shift for a couple more hours until change of shift. What kind of nurse are you? I am a medical surgical nurse. That's the unit I started off on, and that's the unit that I am currently still on. Am I going to change units one day? Who knows? Perhaps. But right now, I really love med-surg, and I'm learning a lot. What's the grossest thing you've ever seen? Besides the pressure ulcers, probably a woman who once had this flesh-eating disease. It was literally making all her skin become necrotic. There were just patches of black all over her, and they had a really bad odor. I think the lady passed away, I'm not sure, but I can never get that image out of my head. I can't even describe it vividly. I don't even want to think about it. Do you have a favorite patient at work? Sometimes I do, but then they leave. And then I get sad because I'm like, no, why can't you stay longer? But of course we want them to go, we want them to get better. We don't want them to stay up here forever, but occasionally I do have favorite patients, yes. As of this week, no. How much people do you have to take care in a night? Oh my goodness, y'all. So a lot of you know that we are very understaffed in a lot of hospitals, so the nurse to patient ratio is kind of crazy. So I take care of, I'm gonna say a lot. I'm not gonna give a number of how many patients, I'm not gonna do my hospital like that, but I take care of a very large amount of patients. And honestly, I'm glad that I work at a hospital that has a union, because when I feel it's unsafe, I'm able to fill out an unsafe staffing paper and fax it to them to cover me if anything happens. I'm gonna leave it at that. How much hours do you work? I work 12 hours. What is your daily routine? Okay, my daily routine when it comes to work, so I'll, of course I'm gonna drive to work. Once I get there, I sit in my car for a little bit until it's time for me to go in. Once I go in, I clock in, I go to my locker, put my stuff away, I get my little fanny pack, put my stuff in there that I need, and then I make the assignment, because oftentimes I am the charge nurse. I make the assignment, and then once I have my set of patients, I go make rounds on them. I make rounds on all the patients just to make sure everyone's okay, but primarily if I don't have time to do that, I'll make sure that my patients are all alive and well. There are no medications that are still hanging that weren't given, things like that. After that, sometimes I might count narcotics with the morning nurse if no other nurse is available for my shift, and then I'll get report from my patients. After I've got report, then I will make my list of medications that are due throughout my entire shift, so I already have an idea of what I need to give. Am I gonna have a heavy night? Am I gonna have an easy night? Who knows? Well, that's why I make my list. And I also make a list of things to do based on my patients. So I'll write down all their beds and a little check boxes that I need to do so I don't forget. Because when I first started, y'all, I would think that I could remember everything. And I remember at the end of my shift, I would forget so many things. So now if it's something pertinent that I need to do, I write it down in a little check box. So at the end of my shift, I can say, oh, I forgot to do this, or oh, I did this, and I'll check it off. And that feeling of accomplishment when you did something is just amazing. After I make my list, I'll get my computer, I'll clean it off, and then I'll go get my medications, start administering medications if they're due. And after that, I'm just relaxing until the next thing is due or the next task is due. But yeah, it's pretty chill. Do you wear scrub skirts? If so, where do you find them? I should make a video on this. Yes, I do wear scrub skirts. I get them mostly from All Heart, and I believe Cherokee has some good ones too. But maybe I'll make a video on like modesty in the workplace with scrubs. Are you a nurse? Let's go to the next question. You make lunch or buy lunch for work? Because I heard your vlog, you don't like the hassle of cooking. Did I say this? I don't remember. I could have, but I don't believe I did, but I could be wrong. But I do bring my food with me to work, but as of recently, I haven't been doing so. I've been implementing 1 meal a day, so I'll have my big meal before work, and then I'll carry something small with me to work. Like, as you've seen in my other videos, sometimes I carry baby snacks. Don't judge yourself. And if I don't carry my baby snacks, I'll carry like some tea, because tea is very filling for me and it gets me through the night. It holds me and it keeps me awake too. But don't get it twisted, your girl loves to cook. I do cook, and there's no hassle about it. What is a graveyard shift? The graveyard shift is the night shift. It is the third shift. It is the last shift. It is the shift that a lot of people don't desire because they'd rather be at home sleeping, but it's the shift I honestly find most relaxing after trying them all out. Why did you decide to become a nurse, and are you an LPN or RN? I am an RN. I decided to be a nurse because ever since I was young, I always had a desire to help people. I remember once when I was younger, there was an older man who fell outside my house, and I remember running to him and just making sure that he was okay. The ambulance came, and that was like really confirmation for me that, yeah, when I get older, I definitely want to make sure that I'm in the health field helping people. I really love it. Of course it can be crazy sometimes, but it's so rewarding, especially when you have those patients who are very appreciative of what you do, especially during the pandemic and when we're short-staffed. It's a very rewarding field. Not for everyone. Do not do it if you're just in it for money. But I definitely love this field. Being in this truth, what are some challenges you face as a nurse? Honestly, I'm glad someone asked me this. A challenge that I face at work is staying in the spirit, honestly, because it's more so communication and collaboration, not just like amongst staff, but with patients, with people. And sometimes you have people who can just be so rude, so just disgusting, and talk to you like you're nothing after you're going there willingly offering your time to make sure they're okay. No matter how sweet you talk to them, sometimes they just talk to you like you're trash. And it takes a lot to stay in the spirit, to not rebuttal, to not let that old self come out. Like, you want to represent you correctly, your family, your nation. So honestly, that's something that I do struggle with sometimes, but you just gotta keep quiet, you know, soft answer. Yeah. Even though I'm not where I want to be, I thank God that I'm not where I used to be, because when I first started off, I had no filter. And I'm gonna leave it at that. What are some of the pros and cons? Well, the pay is always a pro. But honestly, obviously that, but knowing that you made a difference in somebody's life and that you were there to help them at their lowest is always a pro. Like, it's such a good feeling. It'll be time for me to clock out and I'll have patients being like, oh, you're leaving now? I'm like, yeah, I'm going home. Oh, okay, are you coming back tonight? I'm like, yeah, I'll be back tonight. Okay, like, they're just so excited. So, you know, just being there, knowing that I was there for you at your lowest, that I was able to help you, bring you back on your feet again. You know, you were able to talk some sense into people, help them to make better choices when it comes to drinking and smoking and drugs. Like, that is such a rewarding feeling, and I love it. Some of the cons, you're gonna be working understaffed, opening yourself to different diseases. So you wanna make sure that you're taking your vitamins so that your immune system is built up. What else? Did I say working understaffed? Working understaffed, nobody likes that, especially when the census is high and the acuity is also high. Cons aren't crazy, you just gotta learn how to manage everything, honestly. Time management is everything, and just learning how to filter out the negatives. How long did it take you to get where you are? Do you regret anything along the way? Okay, let's be vulnerable. It took me 5 years to get where I am instead of 4, because my first year when I was a freshman, I played games. Like, I didn't get into the program when I first signed up because I didn't take it seriously. You know, I didn't get a good grade in one of my classes, either one or two of them. I didn't get a good grade, so that was an eye-opener for me. And my mom had a really tough discussion with me. She's like, listen, if you want to do this, you need to make sure that you are in this for the right reasons and you're serious, because this is your career that you're talking about. And my parents weren't throwing away money for me to just be playing at school for no reason. So I would honestly wish I had took that year better. But at the same time, I'm kind of glad that I was in the class that I was in, because looking back at the class that I would have been in, those students were something different. Like, the energy was just completely off. And the class that Most High did allow me to become a part of, like, we felt like a family. Like, we did everything together. We studied together. We cried together. It just felt so amazing. Like, we just felt like such a strong connection. And I feel like our teachers, we asked our teachers one time, like, are we the best class? And they admitted that we were. We were literally the best class out of the whole nursing program, in my opinion, and I know they feel the same way too. But, you know, yeah, everything works together at the end of the day. So I would have wished to do that differently, but I'm glad that I was able to learn from that and that Most High was able to use it for something better. How long have you been a nurse for? I'll be 5 years in October. Do you have any study tips? Study tips, like I said, it's always helpful to have a concrete group of people that you can go over things with. Maybe they can quiz you. You guys can quiz each other. You can read something and ask each other questions on it to help cement it in your brain so you really understand what you're talking about. If your textbook has the review questions, definitely utilize those. And honestly, YouTube. Utilize YouTube. YouTube has so many videos that can break things down very simple on different topics, especially med-surg and pharmacology, because those are the two hardest topics in nursing school, in my opinion. So honestly, doing that, using YouTube, my study group, and just quizzing myself, make sure I'm reading aloud and asking myself questions even sometimes, writing things down, highlighting, all that helps. What did you use to study for your TEAS exam? I'm not sure what that is. My college didn't have that. We had the HESI exam, if that's something similar. It's like an exit exam that you have to take in order to graduate and move on. And to study for that, we were given a book that went over a lot of the materials in it, and we also did a course online. Your favorite grade? I forgot what it was called, but we did something online to study for it as well. And then we went over some things and topics in class, and again, my group of friends and I, we studied together too. Okay, and I don't want this video to be so long, so this is going to be the last question that I'm answering. Is it really a hard job or just tedious and annoying? Thanks for your service though. I wouldn't say it's hard. You know, we all went to school for this, and some of you are going to school for this. I think starting out for me, it definitely was hard. Obviously, this is something that's completely new to me and I have no experience in it outside of clinicals. Like, I remember when I first started out and my preceptor was precepting me, and she had assigned me to a patient, wanted me to do an assessment on the patient. So in nursing school, I learned all these different assessments. So I'm here thinking that I'm gonna do all these different assessments on this patient. And she was like, girl, no, this patient's coming in with a respiratory disease. You're gonna do a respiratory assessment. So I'm like, oh. But honestly, starting out, it's always going to be difficult in anything, but yeah, it's not necessarily hard. And if you do have any questions, you know, I have coworkers that I can always ask something about. Even till this day, I still ask them questions about. I'll ask the supervisor, the nursing supervisor, if I have a question to confirm something about a policy or I'm not too sure about anything. That's why they're there. It is a tedious job, however, because, you know, these are people's lives in your hands. You don't want to just be careless with it. You want to make sure that you pay attention to details. If you notice someone did the vitals and the vitals for a certain patient looks a little higher than normal, you're going to ask the nursing attendant, whoever took the vitals, to recheck it, because this is out of the norm. So I need you to recheck this to make sure that it's valid. Or if a patient's sugar, I remember one time recently, probably a month ago, I had my nursing attendant had taken the sugar for one of my patients and it was extremely high. And when I looked at the patient's chart, their sugar is never high. So I'm like, okay, can you please recheck that, because this is out of the norm for this patient. She rechecked it and it was low, like normal. Not like dangerously low, but within normal ranges. So you definitely want to make sure that you're paying attention to little things and big things, even like breathing patterns. If a patient is breathing, seems a little off than usual, if they're acting different, if they were alert when you came in and now they're not answering questions, they're not giving you eye contact, like, you have to pay attention. You can't take this for granted. And it's not annoying. Well, no, I take that back. It is annoying sometimes dealing with certain issues on the floor, but you know, it comes with a job. Any job has its annoyances. You just have to learn to work through it. Yeah, that is the end of the Q&A. I didn't want to make it too long, so hopefully if you asked your question, I was able to answer it. I hope I did. A lot of the questions were very similar, so I might not have asked or said your question specifically how you wrote it, but I hope I was able to answer it in this video in another way. Should we make a part 2? I don't know. Perhaps. If you have any other topics about nursing that you'd like me to make a video on, drop them down below. I'm always open to different ideas. And I know I said I do want to try to make a video on modesty in the workplace. So hopefully, Lord's will, I can do that. But I want to get some more uniforms first, because the ones I have are a little bit old. But yeah, thanks guys for checking out this video. Check out my last one if you haven't already. And I'll see you guys in the next one. Shalom.